Ellie Kemper, Unbreakable Kimmy Schmit, debuted on Netflix a few months ago, and just a bright, bubbly, optimistic kind of a show. Tell
Yeah.
us about how you got the role.
Well, I did not know this for sure until I read it in a New York Times article this past winter. But Tina and Robert were asked, Tina Fey and Robert Carlock were asked if they would be interested in creating a show with me in mind. And they said yes. And so I met with them, I guess it was 2 years ago now. Met with them for dinner. And they told me this idea that they had for a comedy about a young woman who had been kept in an underground bunker for 15 years and then was rescued. And that does not sound like a likely premise for a comedy, but it was. And that's how I got hooked up with the show. And it's been a dreamlike experience.
Well, that's quite a compliment to you because Tina and Robert coming off of 30 Rock could have done anything.
You're thinking exactly what I'm thinking. Like, why would they do this? It's the biggest compliment I've ever received, that they would be willing to come up with an idea and have me involved with it in any capacity. I am an enormous fan of 30 Rock, such a fan of theirs. And so to be working with them on any level is extraordinary. And believe me, I'm flattered.
Well, like you said, I mean, this concept could have gone dark in different hands. It could have been different in lots of ways, but they keep it, because of, you're the lead, they keep it very optimistic.
It is very optimistic. And I think that is sort of one of the underlying themes, which is that bad things happen to people. And to quote the show, you can't curl up in a ball and die. You have to keep going. And I think that this is certainly a heightened set of circumstances and a more extreme situation, maybe than most people find themselves in. But I think that it's relatable in the sense that things aren't going to go your way, and yet you have to continue. So, and they are able to put use comedy to treat that, which is no easy feat. So it's very impressive.
Well, I love the fact I was a big 30 Rock fan from the very beginning too. It's not similar to 30 Rock, certainly in concept, but the New York backdrop and also just sort of the rhythms of the show kind of have a 30 Rock feel.
Oh, absolutely. I think down to the music, the rhythm, like you said, it's a fast-paced, it's absurd at times. I think that the sensibility of the shows are pretty similar. And in fact, I binge-watched 30 Rock before we went into shooting the first season of Kimmy, just to like bathe in the comic minds of Tina and Robert, but just to fully immerse myself, because I watched it when it was on, but it's so unique, that sensibility.
You were Thursday night NBC neighbors there for a good while.
Exactly, yeah.
Well, since you were involved from the very beginning, even before they fully, I mean, did you help give them suggestions, advice? I wish we would do this. I wish we wouldn't do that kind of thing.
I don't think I'm in a position to give Tina and Robert advice. I appreciate their advice to me, but I know that they have said, in terms of advice or inspiration, I think they described my face as they mean this as a good thing. They said a blank slate, which I will take as a good thing, because I guess that music can be painted on. But I hope it doesn't mean I have like vacant eyes and a dead soul. But I did not really collaborate with them in the creation of, in the writing, because I'm not in the writer's room. But once we started shooting, they're very open to ideas that you might have, or, I've never been involved with the creation of a show. Like on The Office, I joined in the 5th season, and everything else that I have worked on, that I've been a guest on, has already, is fully in motion. So this has been really cool to be in at the ground floor and see what goes into creating that world.
When you said blank slate, it brought me back to the beginning of the show, and then also every episode in the opening credits, there's that shot of you emerging out of the bunker with that bright, like, wide-eyed, and that it almost reminds me of a baby being born.
I think they're not that different, because she is literally emerging from this hole, hole in the earth. And I think that shot is so cool, because here this woman is, she's been underground, she's been absent for 15 years. Not only has she been absent, she's been in a situation that most people might not be able to endure. And yet she comes out of that with a smile on her face and a sense of wonderment and awe that this is still here. And I think that's just sort of innate. I think that that's what carried her through those 15 years. And it's that sort of tenacity that drives her forward.
And what's it like for you shooting in New York?
Oh, I love it. I love it. I used to live in New York, and then I moved to Los Angeles to work on The Office and other things. And moving back to New York has been great because it's not a city about show business. It's a city that is trying to function. Everyone has different jobs, and nobody cares about your stupid little film project. So it's really fun shooting on location because production assistants and people will say, "Oh, sir, would you mind? We just need to shoot. This will take 30 seconds. Would you mind waiting 30 seconds?" And no, they're not going to wait. Why should they wait? They have to get to work. And nobody stops and stares, and it's great. It's a very good, healthy dose of perspective.
Yeah, in LA, it's a company town, so they're glad to wait.
Exactly.
Maybe not if it affects their driving and their road,
right, exactly.
Their road rage and so forth. But they don't mind waiting on a sidewalk.
Oh no, they'll stand and stare, and it's entertainment. But New York, they've seen it all.
I love this cast. I want to talk about each of those, if you wouldn't mind. And I've interviewed Jane Krakowski before. This could be like a cousin to her character from 30 Rock, just in terms of, I guess, her entitlement, maybe.
Yes, I think, and I don't want to put words in her mouth, but as a fan of 30 Rock, I think I think that these two characters are different. I think only Jane could play either of them because she is exquisite. I was such a huge fan of hers, and then getting to meet her in person and work with her is, again, a dreamlike experience. But I feel like Jenna Maroney maybe is a monster and maybe cannot be redeemed. And I feel like Jacqueline Voorhees connects with Kimmy because they both are escaping a similar thing. They both are trying to move on from a dark past, a past that they weren't thrilled about. And Jacqueline is, I think, determined to make something of her life. Whereas I don't know about Jenna being able to get past herself. And I think Jacqueline is able to. So I'm excited to see what happens in this next season with her. But only Jane.
Similarities, but they're not exact. I mean, they're not. That's why I said a cousin, like a distant cousin.
A distant cousin. You could see if they found out they were related, you wouldn't be surprised. But I mean, they're both self-involved to some extent, I would say. But I think that there's more chance for redemption with Jacqueline.
And Carol Kane, I've loved ever since Taxi.
Yes.
She puts a spin on words and sentences like nobody's business. What's that like?
Well, it's amazing to watch her work because I, like you, am an enormous fan of hers and have been for years. And again, it's one of those things where you're pinching yourself because you're now in a scene with her. And the way she receives information, or receives a note from the director, whatever it is, and makes the change is just fascinating to watch because I don't know how it happens. I feel like I try to do that and it takes a few attempts, and she sort of absorbs it and then makes it happen. And that's why she's Carol Kane. It's just extraordinary. She's so funny as Lillian. I hope that we get to see even more of that character in the next season because she's crazy.
I read something today where they said they might explore some of her backstory a little bit.
Yeah, I heard that last night. Yes, so I'm hoping that. Of course, I'm now. I guess I'm not hoping. They just said it's going to happen, so I'm thrilled that that's going to happen. And on a personal level, I have to tell you what a dear woman she is. She's just lovely. She's so sweet. All right, sorry, dear.
Not as kooky as a lot of the people she plays. Exactly.
No. She's definitely playing a character when she does that.
And Titus, I think, is maybe just one of the breakout stars of the year. I remembered him, from little things here and there, especially on 30 Rock once or twice. But boy, he owns a scene when he's in it.
Oh, he comes from Broadway, as you know, and that you can't fake your way on Broadway. So it's like, it's the real deal. He is so funny. He sings like an angel, as we all know, and his timing is impeccable. I knew from the pilot, we were working on a scene together, and I was laughing so hard at what he was doing. I've said this before, so I apologize, but he made me laugh so hard that I wet my pants, and that's not unusual for me. But I was so happy that was happening. I felt like, oh, we're set. Like that's the mark of a good time. I adore him. He's great.
I mean, you just don't see two buddies like that on TV.
No, it's an unlikely pairing. Yeah. I think that's why it works.
And the little cliffhanger for him at the end of the first season was the wife here in my state of Mississippi.
I cannot wait to see how that, we had hints at that throughout, like, at one point, what does he say? He's like, I felt like that on my wedding bells are chiming, or something like that. Like, we had a little bit of foreshadowing, and now that she came to yell at him, I can't wait to see how that marriage ever took place.
Well, just like 30 Rock, Tina and Robert and the other folks are able to just line up the guest star after guest star after guest star. Was there a particular one this year this first year that just really stood out to you, or you were thrilled to have on, working opposite?
Well, just I keep getting so personal, but on a personal level, John Hamm went to my high school in St. Louis, and he came back after he graduated college, and he taught theater at my school for a year, and I was one of his students. And so that was when I was in 9th grade, and he was, I guess, 24. So for him to guest star as the Reverend and to be acting in a scene with him was personally just once in a lifetime and exceptional. And I was very nervous that whole time, because you don't escape the dynamic of teacher-student. And of course, he didn't make it seem this way, but I was like, it's Mr. Hamm, you are going to get an F. So that was a thrill, kind of, because I still feel like, all right, he's my teacher, you can't mess up now. But that was probably the most exciting for me.
Yeah, I think he's been up for the Emmys like 10 or 11 times and never won. He could win for Mad Men, of course, but I think I've got him in first place in my predictions on guest star. I think he's so against what you normally see that the voters will eat that up.
Well, I just think that's what is so exceptional about him. He doesn't need me to say this, but that he can do both. He is Don Draper, just inimitable, and then he is hosting Saturday Night Live and on Between Two Ferns and playing Reverend Richard. Like, he can do drama and comedy both equally extraordinarily. I keep saying extraordinary. That's my word.
That's okay. I mean, so many people this year, but even just, more Broadway folks like Christine Ebersol or Martin Short was hilarious, or, Tim Blake Nelson. It was just a fun season.
I love Tim Blake Nelson, Amy Sedaris. That was thrilling. Every day I would come in and I would be like, Martin Short, like you said, I would be nervous when those people were there, because it was, again, it's like, you got to make their time here worth it. And then everyone was just lovely, and there was no reason to be nervous. But that's so cool, because as you said, on 30 Rock, they were able to get all these fabulous people in. And so I hope that continues, because it's such an amazing opportunity to be able to work with them.
Now, what's the timeline like? When do you go in production on a second season?
The writers have started writing, I think, about 3 weeks ago, and then we'll start shooting at the end of the summer. So kind of soon. Yeah.
Is that sort of the same timeline as last year? In other words, would we probably get a season maybe in the spring?
That's what I have heard mentioned. Yes, I think March or April, I think, is what they're looking towards, but don't quote me on that.
Well, I understand. Anything could change too, as you well know.
Anything can change. But I think it'll be similar, because, we started shooting in August of last year. So.
Well, this first season, the TV critics nominated you, the series, as Best Comedy Series.
Yes, what an honor.
Which that'll be coming up in August. Yeah. What were your feelings about that?
Oh, that's such an honor. I mean, to be recognized in any way for your work is, of course, a nice feeling. But I have just been, I won't say surprised, I've just been happy that people seem to be responding to it well, for the most part. And I think that that's what you hope for when you make something. You want it to resonate with people. And to be recognized in that way is great. It's a huge honor, very flattering.
Now, if you get nominated at the Emmys in July for the September event, you're going to have to pick an episode from this season for the judges to look at. Have you thought about what that might be?
Do you know what? I haven't thought about that, and maybe I should. I don't know.
I always encourage everybody to at least think about it. It's like writing a speech. It doesn't hurt to have it, because if you're announced on July, I think 16th, you've only got like 9 or 10 days to turn in your episode. So you have
that's true. It's better to have that on the back burner. I guess people don't maybe want to jinx anything, but also it doesn't hurt to be prepared. I'll say that.
Well, at least be thinking about it, or asking a Tina or a Robert or somebody that's gone through it before, Jane,
Yeah.
you know, what do you think? Because the main thing you're looking for as you start to think about it, really four things in comedy. Of course, you want to be really funny. You want the screen time, which leads generally do, but you'd be surprised sometimes even a lead will submit something that's too sort of ensemble-y.
Yep.
You want range. You want to show not just comedy.
Right.
And you want impact. If there's like one good, really like impactful scene, you want that.
That's a lot. But you're right. You want that to have all those ingredients. Okay, thank you. Thank you. I should start thinking about this.
And you know, if you just can't decide, sometimes the pilot is just the way to go if you're a first season show, because they worked really hard to introduce your character, you know, to the world. So maybe that's the way you should introduce yourself to an Emmy judge.
Oh, yes. I think that's true.
A lot of people have won for pilots over the years. Well, you've been up at SAG Award 4 times for The Office and once for Bridesmaids. I know you've been in Screen Actors Guild a while. Just tell me about just you going to that type of event.
The first thing that pops into my head is fun, because I think that those are a lot of fun, because the outcome, whatever happens, happens. But to be included in that group, you know, especially with SAG, it's your peers. So it feels extra special to be recognized in that way. And the shows and Bridesmaids, those projects that I've been a part of when I've attended those things are such ensemble pieces. And the people who worked on them with me, or who I got to work with, are lovely people. So to celebrate something in that way does seem special. And there's almost no, because I've gone as a nominee as an ensemble, you don't feel, I don't think, that much pressure because you're with your ensemble. But it's just sort of a nice celebration. And again, I think specifically with SAG, because you know that it's your fellow actors and actresses appreciating you in a certain way. But I've had fun at those.
I love that event too, because you're all at, you know, big tables and it's a party atmosphere, and like you say, you can just, you know, sit back and enjoy the whole evening all together.
Being handed out, and it seems more relaxed.
Oh,
I'll go anytime.
Oh, there you are.
Oh, pardon me?
I said you disappeared for just a second.
Oh, I did. Oh, that's I'm truly an amazing actress.
One last question, awards related. We're an awards website, so we always love to talk about this stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Presented on the Oscars that year of Bridesmaids. Was that just a ton of pressure, or did you actually have fun?
Did you say presenting?
Yeah.
I don't understand this. I'm a nervous person. I'm an anxious person, and normally I would be worried about that. That day, I don't know what happened. I was not nervous. I only had fun. I think it was the idea of, this might not ever happen again. You're going to the Oscars in a beautiful dress. You get to go with your friends and present an award as a group. It didn't feel nerve-wracking. It just felt like one of those things that you appreciate as it's happening and you just enjoy it. And my husband got to go with me, and it was just, except then he wasn't even my husband. He was my fiance. The Oscars brought us together. No, but it was just that. I just remember that as being a very I know it sounds corny, but a magical day. It was, if I were to think about how many people are watching the Oscars, which I don't want to think about, then I think I would have been more nervous. But it was like everyone was just so happy to be there. For once in my life, I wasn't nervous.
You think it would have been a lot different if, let's say, you were presenting on your own instead of with a group?
I do, because it's back to that ensemble thing. It was just, we all walked out together. I knew I was presenting with the beautiful Wendy. It didn't feel like, this is all up to you. Also, I think if you're nominated, it's something different, but you're presenting an award, so you can just kind of have fun. And looking out at that audience, it's obviously a star-studded audience. It was thrilling. I'm shocked I wasn't nervous. I don't know what happened that day.
Well, don't be nervous this September. I think you're going to be nominated there at the Emmys, and good luck with that.
Nice.
And I hope the whole show gets very embraced by those Emmys.
Oh, that's so kind of you. Thank you. I'm very happy that you like it. That means a lot, so thank you.
Well, thank you very much.
Great.